Hello, guys. I am Hunt Etheridge, and welcome. I'm excited to be talking with you today. I am your friendly neighborhood dating coach and matchmaker, relationship expert. I'll give you my official promo bio, and then I will break it down a bit and, talk about who I am, where we are, and where we're going. So, I am an award winning international dating and relationship expert with almost 20 years' experience helping people become the best, most dateable versions of themselves. While the focus of my coaching is on making someone empirically more dateable, the lessons learned translate very easily into personal and professional lives. The emphasis is on confidence building, leadership, image and style, conversation skills, creating chemistry, reconnecting with fun, and more. I've been lucky enough to be featured in way over 100 different media outlets, with some of my favorites being Alley Watch, Dubai Eye, CNN, The New York Times, Playboy, and GQ. Having been a part of the founding of 5+ dating companies, I am now bringing my expertise to reach and train and mentor a new set of love experts at all levels of their career. As building relationships and communications are fundamental parts of all human nature and activities, his experience has been called upon in many corporate settings, from financial infidelity at Chase Bank, the art of conversation for a firm of lawyers, or how to build a relationship with your client for luxury New York City showrooms. My knowledge is able to be translated across multiple fields. Currently, I'm on a quest to speak with one person in every country on the planet about what dating and relationships like in their area. You can read some of my advice or contact me for my services at huntforadvice.com, or follow me on YouTube or Instagram at Quest for Advice. Now, what did all that just mean? So let me give you a little bit more background before we jump into the meat of our talk today. So I got into this whole thing because of my therapist. I was going to her for various and sundries over 20 years ago, and she said to me, the men that come in here are broken and I can fix them, but the thing that they want the most is to have a woman by their side, and I can't give them that. You know more about this than anybody I've ever met. You need to figure out a way to monetize this, and the minute you do, I will refer all of my patients to you. So 3 resounding pats on the back from a female psychotherapist is what at least started me on the journey. Did I know more than anyone else? Was it an art? Is it a science? Could you teach it? How do you break it down? Etc., etc. Pardon me. And 20 years ago, also saw the publication of a national bestseller that became a stain on our industry for a long time. That book? The Game. Penetrating the Secret Society of Pickup Artists by Neil Strauss. Phrases like running game, negging, sarging entered the lexicon. It was a gross time. This was also the time that online dating was considered taboo and only for the super lonely. There weren't a lot of options for the average dater to learn how to improve their dating life. Yes, there are a lot of self-help books, but let's be honest, the average person does not read self-help books. So after researching what to do and how to do it, I founded my first company, Hunt for Advice, which I still run today, in late 2007. My then new girlfriend, current now wife, actually helped me hand out my very first flyers at a street fair. And I did that for 2 years and had approximately 1 client during that entire time. I was learning what the market wanted and needed and how I could deliver it. At the beginning, I was asking, I'll teach you what you want and let me know what you need. And after a while, I realized that let me tell you what you need. In 2010, I read an article in CNN about New York Dating Coach, the largest and likely only dating coaching firm. I called them up, and long story short, I became their head coach for around 7 years. And I really liked working for a firm because we had 8 folks or so, and if you came on board, you would meet with all of us, and there'd be a language coach, a flirting coach, a nighttime coach, a female coach, a body language coach, etc., etc. Now, I liked it because we could all learn from each other, and we could all hyper focus on our area of expertise and become world class at that. My thing was daytime coaching, meeting people in everyday situations, not necessarily out at night or a social event, because it's a little bit harder to strike up a conversation with a stranger in the middle of nowhere. When you're out, at least the intent somewhat is to be social, right? And I got very good at it. I learned how to talk to anyone, anywhere, at any time. Around 2006, I decided to go out on my own and I left the firm. And, and I developed a bit of a name and a lot of trust in the industry over the years. I've been giving talks, starting companies, attending conferences, and meeting everyone in the industry, basically. And one of the things I liked most about working for a firm is that I didn't have to find clients. As anyone knows, as a business owner knows, the cost and time of new client acquisition is a large part of it. So instead of marketing myself as a business to consumer coach, I did more of a B2B behind the scenes. I would go to the owners of the largest matchmaking firms or the head of the Rotary Club and say, here's how I can make or save you money. Basically saying, I would like access to your clients. And then I only had to win over one person. And then I got access to all of their clients. Obviously, I had to bring value into it and do what I said. But after meeting almost everyone in the industry and making my case, I became the coach on record basically for almost all of the top best matchmaking firms all over the world. In my teaching, I say that dating is a mix of biology, sociology, psychology, and anthropology. And now it's also about technology. With the ascendance of AI, it's reaching into almost every aspect of all of our lives, including dating and relationships. So I wanted to give you a bit of a state of the union talk on what's going on with it right now in my particular industry and all the stuff that AI is disrupting. And you're going to hear some thoughts from some experts high up that are incorporating it and what's going on, and I'll expand and expound upon their ideas as well. First off, let's get a quick history of tech, catfishing, and AI before we get into the dangers of robot love. So first off, let's listen to a short 2-minute PSA that came out both 25 years ago and 1,000 years in the future about the dangers of robot love.
Human dating. It's enjoyable and it serves an important purpose. When a human dates an artificial mate, there is no purpose, only enjoyment. And that leads to tragedy.
Silly every teen.
Harmless fun? Let's see what happens next.
Billy, do you want to walk your dog?
No, thanks, Mom. I'd rather make out with my robot.
Billy, do you want to get a paper route and earn some extra cash?
No, thanks, Dad. I'd rather make out with my robot.
Billy, do you want to come over tonight? We can make out together.
Gee, Mavis, your house is across the street. It's an awfully long way to go for making out.
Did you notice what went wrong in that scene? Ordinarily, Billy would work hard to make money with his paper route. Then he'd use the money to buy dinner for Mavis, thus earning a slim chance to perform the reproductive act. But in a world where teens can date robots, why should he bother? Why should anyone bother? Let's take a look at Billy's planet a year later. Where are all the football stars? And where are the biochemists? They're trapped in the soft, vice-like grip of robot lips. All civilization was just an effort to impress the opposite sex. And sometimes the same sex. Now, let's skip forward 80 years into the future. Where's Billy? The next day, Billy's planet was destroyed by aliens. Have you guessed the name of Billy's planet? It was Earth. Don't date robots.
All joking aside, these are the same arguments that are being said right now. So I just thought that was kind of funny. Now, first off, dinging on new technology has always been a pastime for the elders for literally millennia. Here's one from Plautus in Rome in 250 BC. The gods confound the man who first found out how to distinguish hours. Confound him too who in this place set up a sundial to cut and hack my days so wretchedly into small portions. When I was a boy, my belly was my sundial, one more sure, truer, and more exact than any of them. The sundial. The printing press. A Benedictine monk in the 1500s, they shameless print material which may, alas, inflame impressionable youths. The telephone from the Seventh World of Chan Buddhism in 1985. The telephone is the devil's instrument. Ideally, anyone on the path should have his telephone disconnected with a special ceremony as the line is severed. Had the device been around in Siddhartha's day, the sixth precept would have been non-telephoning. Now, catfishing, the phrase was coined in a 2010 documentary of the same name. In it, the director hears a story about putting catfish in a tank of live codfish to have an enemy that keeps them fresher, an outsider pretending to be an insider. While the phrase was coined, the actions, again, have been going on for a long, long time. In Genesis, Jacob had to stand before his father, though his eyesight was failing, and physically pretend to be someone else, his brother Esau, in order to receive his father's blessing. In the 1660s, the dauntless Mary Carleton concocted letters and official certificates to steal hearts and monies from a bunch of rich chumps, using a deck of beguiling identities from a principled virgin heiress to an orphaned German princess. Shakespeare had a favorite device that he would call a bed trick that he would use in plays such as Midsummer Night's Dream, where one person subs for another person in the midst of a sexual act. All right? And in 1880, there was a book published called Wired Love, a romance of dots and dashes about catfishing over telegraph lines. Listen to this excerpt. There certainly is something romantic in talking to a mysterious person, unseen and miles away, thought Natty as she put on her hat. It must be very romantic and fascinating to talk with someone so far away, a mysterious stranger, too, one that has never been seen, Miss Archer said, her black eyes sparkling. I should get up a nice little sentimental affair immediately. I know I should. There is something so nice about anything with a mystery to it. In 1897, the playwright Edmond Rostand published Cyrano de Bergerac, an unforgettable and timeless love story that continues to capture many hearts today. It was turned into Roxanne with Steve Martin. A skilled skirmisher and clever poet, Cyrano uses his talents to woo his distant cousin Roxanne. Cyrano, who feels insecure about the size of his nose, feeds his poem to Christian, who's Roxanne's love. She falls in love with Christian's physicality and Cyrano's words and wit. Complete and total aside, he was most likely influenced by Thomas Wetters and his prodigious honker. Well, now we move up to 1913, and the quote says, quite early in life, George Tracy discovered that if he were to be reasonably happy and prosperous, he must pretend. So begins a mesmerizing psychological novel that has been long out of print. It's chiefly remembered for its title, The Catfish. Rounding out the 20th century, the Oscar-winning movie Some Like It Hot features catfishing as its central principle. Who can forget this famous line? Now that leaves us with AI, artificial intelligence. The phrase itself was coined and introduced to the world in 1955 when John McCarthy held a workshop at Dartmouth on artificial intelligence and is credited with bringing it to become, an area of study, especially the one that it is today. And like all before, it has a long, long history. There were automatons all throughout history. The god Hephaestus forged the giant bronze Talos to guard Crete. In William of Malmesbury's 1125 treatise History of the English Kings, there's a passage that references Pope Sylvester II casting the head of a statue using his knowledge of astrology, and the head would answer any yes-no question put to it. By the 1800s and the advent of electricity, there was a surge in artificial intelligence and the different kinds of it. There was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Samuel Butler's Darwin Among the Machines, and Poe's Maslow's Chess Player. Then the 1900s brings us true computing, Alan Turing, and Deep Blue. And then in 1966, an MIT professor named Joseph Weizenbaum created the first chatbot named Eliza. Then we get into the 21st century and we finish up with Watson, Siri, and now ChatGPT. So that brings us to now. So what is currently going on in the world of AI and dating?
Dating apps about a 10% success rate in terms of relationships, and matchmaking 70 to 80% on average. So what we want to do is we wanted to mimic the success of a matchmaking person, an expert, to an AI. And so we contracted the person who created the first self-driving car, and he is the guy who built us our AI solution. And we are building a solution where the AI is like a big brain that learns from experts in our industry. And we've had this AI ingest over 100,000 pieces of information on best practices for matchmaking, date coaching, and relationship experts from our favorites around the industry.
So, as Adam was saying about the apps, everyone knows the apps as they've come to be called. From at first being taboo and unfamiliar to now all the rage, and then to burnout, people have a love-hate relationship with all of these kind of dating apps. Most people don't know or don't want to know that the goal of the apps is to extract wealth. If you find love along the way, great for you. If the apps were really good at their job, people would get matched, leave, and be demonetized. If they were really bad at their job, people would go on, have a bad experience, leave, and be demonetized. So they actively shoot for a middling experience to keep you on as long as you can. And if you leave and go to another dating site or app, guess what? Almost all of them are owned by one or two companies, so they keep dipping into your pocket. And a disclaimer also, not all apps are bad. They are tools like anything else, like AI. I'm not bashing on the apps necessarily. I do think there are some that are more ethical than others, but that is a whole other conversation. But basically, the goal of the apps is to keep you entertained and on the hook. Excuse me. It incentivizes them to show a huge host of available singles in your area, to have fake profiles, fake likes, hide real profiles between premium access, etc., etc. As technology gets better, so do the fakes. There's an arms race right now in the dating world to use AI in all sorts of ways. So what are some of the examples that are going on right now of AI in the dating apps? For instance, there is SciMatch, which is an AI-powered app that reads your face and finds you matches based on that. How does that work? Viktoryia will tell you.
So right now, what we do is using AI and its capabilities in matchmaking to make matchmaking streamlined, cheaper, more precise, better. So right now it can be affordable to everyone, and it's more accurate. So for example, a standard matchmaker can see 20 people, correct? And in course of his practice or her practice could be 100 people total. But if AI matchmaker can match 1 million of people, can see 1 million faces, can talk to 1 million people and match them correctly, efficiently, and cheaper than anything that existed right now.
Aside from SciMatch, you have things like Iris Dating. This app uses AI to predict attraction by having users rate a large number of photos and then eventually training the AI to your preferences. There's Your Move AI, which offers AI powered profile enhancers. There's Volar, a company that offers an early version of AI dating concierges. There is Aragon.ai, which gives you some very nice AI photos. There's Replica. It's an advanced version of Eliza, a chatbot basically it's a new AI companion. Amori takes an interesting approach to it. They have a bunch of coaches, AI coaches, that have their own personalities together, forming a sort of like gang of confidants that could help you dating. There was Christy, the blunt bestie, who gives sassy, frank advice that's straight and to the point. Ethan, the wingman, who will give spot on dating tips and make it all good time. Tabitha, the wise aunt, whose wisdom feels like learning and getting a hug all at once. And Sonia, the love scholar, who has a PhD in the science of dating. And then there is Riz, your number one dating assistant.
So here's how Riz is incorporating AI today. Users are uploading screenshots on our product. If they're ever stuck in the middle of a conversation or they're on a dating app, they do not know how to start the conversation, they can take a screenshot of the conversation or profile, upload it on Riz, and then Riz will figure out exactly where you are in this dating journey, whether are you just opening up the conversation or are you in the middle of the conversation, and give you guidance and advice on what to say next. Riz will give you a variety of different ideas that you can use to keep the conversation moving forward. And the whole goal is to get users off the dating apps as fast as possible.
There are a lot of good things that AI can do to help in these apps. Smarter matchmaking, make the experiences more personalized, improves user safety. That means like identifying non-consensual nudes and can change inappropriate language. Their profile recommendations and language translation, all of these things that you can see right now. These are things that, yes, absolutely AI can help in dating. Right now, most of the features are falling into two main buckets: tools to bolster security and tools to improve engagement.
But I think that the way that the industry has adopted AI is missing the point. I think a lot of dating apps have used AI to have conversations on behalf of people and to kind of automatically set them up on dates, which I don't think makes a lot of sense. I think we want to teach people the skill of dating, the skill of conversing. And when your bot is chatting with someone else's bot, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. There's also AI that's being used in our industry to select photos for your profile, which can be good to a certain degree, but I just don't think that's where the best outcomes will be from an AI standpoint.
Okay, that's a little bit about what some of the companies are doing, but what about the users? How are the users using AI and what's going on with that?
And we know from certain areas of research that have looked at AI and appreciation for AI, for example, like in the forms of artwork or music, people will like the artwork and the music from AI, but once they find out it's AI, they don't like it as much. And the same thing goes for therapy. AI therapy is pretty effective, but when people find out it's AI and not a human, it just loses something. And I think the same thing is going to be true with dating.
In one small study, researchers found that Gen Z are the most likely to embrace artificial intelligence in their love lives, the 15% to use it and 12% using it for relationship advice. Millennials are slightly behind with 9% and 11%. And then, Gen Z and millennials are never basically using it. But, if they're using it, is it ethical? Well, who hasn't touched up a photo? Used a fun filter? About Grammarly. Anybody use that? Spell check? Autocorrect? When does a tool go overboard, basically, and become false? So in the dating and mating game, everyone is always looking for an edge. Something will have them stand out and get noticed. I mean, that's literally evolution, right? The bird that can build the best nest, the bird that can do the best dance, the bird that has the brightest plumage. In the pickup world, there's even a term for it: peacocking. Now, every new tool is going to be co-opted for the desire for sex and companionship. People that don't make words sound good can use the transformative magic of AI to be their creative partner, elevating their expressions into something truly clever, polished, and undeniably dazzling. That was AI, by the way, right?
So why people are coming to Riz and getting help in their dating situations, right? Online dating is tough. It's challenging. There's a lot of, guys and girls on these apps, and very often, I'm not, it's not a competition, but you have to stand out. You can't just open up with a simple hey on a dating app. That probably does not going to work.
What about if you don't have any good pictures of yourself? I know many, if not most guys, do not have good individual pictures of themselves doing things. Like, I used to model as a teen, so I understand the power of a good photo. But for some, all they've got are like bathroom selfies or their LinkedIn photos or a group picture where you can't tell who's who. Well, what if you could use an AI to take a picture of yourself doing the things that you actually do, but have never taken a picture of yourself while doing them? That's what Aragon is for. This guy posted his picture in a New York Times article that he did, and he sent them through the app, and they're great pictures. Now, is it lying if you go to the library often, if you love hiking and enjoy a night out in the city? I don't know. Like most things, there's not really a right or wrong, but sort of a feeling that goes along with it. In nascent relationships, you don't have a lot of foundation or things to go on. So at the beginning, all you have is each other's words to develop that trust. And if your profiles or chats or photos, I mean, you're presenting yourself to the world. And if there's a sense of falseness in them, it can really create a damaging start.
One of the major complaints that daters have now is when their real life date shows up and doesn't look like their picture. And yet, simultaneously, at the same time, people are trying to use AI to doctor up their photos to put them on online dating apps in a way that's artificial. And if anything, what people want more and more these days is authenticity instead of artificiality. And so, there's a world in which people all start using AI to write the responses on a dating app to each other. And it's really AIs having conversations with themselves. And it's like, if you didn't spend time to write this, why should I spend time to read this?
So let's look at some of the issues or problems or disadvantages that could come with AI in the future. And I'll let Viktoryia start us off.
Disadvantages, obviously, ethical, how the company itself. So it's also not up to AI, but up to the people who running companies, up to us, up to humans, not the AI itself. So we gather a lot of data, and we have to be ethical about this data and responsible how we handle it.
You can see just in this Reddit post right now, as people are discussing the possibilities, the highlighted part, the company that can change the software at any reason at all. So if you're completely reliant on a service for your innermost thoughts and friendships, bad things could happen if they decide to just turn off the spout. Corporate ethics is always a hot topic. Some would say those two words are an oxymoron. But let's take a look at this for a moment. Any of these large companies like Meta and X have been compiling all sorts of data on you for years. And depending on who you listen to, filling your feeds with ads and stories that will resonate with you and make them profitable. Well, what do you do if your AI is telling you that man A is great for woman B, but woman B keeps choosing men X, Y, and Z who are not good for her, but keep her monetized on the platform? What if your AI finds someone that checks all the boxes for sociopath? Do you keep them on? Do you kick them off? Which reason for either of those? And now this is what can happen internally, but what happens when the company is sold, like 23andMe? All of that data, all of our genes and DNA data out there is going to be sold to the highest bidder. Or what about if something's hacked, like Equifax, right? All of that very specific data is now going to be available to the highest bidder. What are the companies doing to protect your data, and what happens if it gets let out? Another problem, and something that has always been going on and evergreen, are romance scams. Now, they've been around as long as romance has. They just adapt to the current technology. Now, in 2023 alone, customers lost an approximate or reported 1.14 billion. I say reported because romance scams are notoriously underreported. They're very embarrassing. So most people don't want to admit that they lost a lot of money. But almost 70,000 people did report that year. While the actual numbers of romance scams are declining, the monetary amounts are going up. One recent scam that garnered a lot of attention was a French woman that was built out of almost $1 million by thinking she was dating Brad Pitt and that Brad Pitt was sick and needed her money. Now, let's look at some of these photos that this guy used. They are pretty good, right? For your average user, it's getting harder and harder to tell what the difference is between AI and not AI. Now look at this video, which will show you the difference that AI, how far AI has come within 1 or 2 years. Here's Will Smith eating pasta a couple of years ago. And now it's absolutely almost indistinguishable from real life. It's going to get crazy out there. These deep fakes now are so good that we're going to have to go back to not trusting anything we see on the internet again. Recently in Hong Kong, a company, a dude just lost about $25 million after he had a multi-person video conference with his CFO and other employees, and they were all AI. It's crazy, I'm telling you. Now, even if it's not monetary, it can be life-destroying. There was a book recently called There Is No Ethan, and there is a villainess in it named Emily Slutsky who catfishes 3 different women, saying that she was a man named Ethan, making them fall in love with her. And while all of it was eventually exposed, it ruined so many of their lives, except for the perpetrator, who wasn't able to be charged with anything and is now happily living her life as a practicing gynecologist literally right down the street from me in Jersey City. And yeah, this got found out and some articles got posted on it, but you know, that's crazy. Also, who is training the AI on what? Any algorithm, any human, any set of data has bias within it. And if we're not careful, it can start picking up societal or cultural stereotypes and perpetuating those biases. In 2016, Microsoft famously unveiled its new chatbot, Tay, Thinking About You, with much fanfare. It was keyed to react as if it were a 19-year-old girl by reading tweets and she was going to learn from the internet. Well, I'm sure you can all guess how that turned out. In less than 16 hours, the plug was pulled after she started denying the Holocaust and started tweeting inflammatory tweets. A week later, they tried again, and she started talking in drug lingo and again had to be pulled. You have to be very careful with what data your AI is getting.
No tool is inherently good or evil. It's all in how you use it. And I think there's just some of the impulses that people have to make dating easier. Not everything should be easy. And I think sometimes we want things to be a little bit more difficult because it's going to be a little bit more worthwhile.
Human beings value something they work for much more than something that was given to them for free. If you worked hard for $100, that money has a lot of value to you. If you find $100 on the ground, that's free money. You go out and spend it right away because there's little or no attached value to it. If your AI chatbot chats up her AI bot and they click and tell you guys to go out on a date, there's no emotion in it. You didn't have to fight for it. You didn't have the joy of finding a shared interest. There's not much to look forward to. Dating has become very disposable, and people are quick to flit things away looking for the next best thing. Another worry is that access to community is getting paywalled. If we're in our home silos, the only way we get to interact with each other may be by joining online groups, and we're at the mercy of them charging whatever they want for it. Some of these advice apps are also replacing the shared experiences that we're supposed to have with the real world in a community. You ask your friends how to go talk to a girl, and you get love advice from your hairdresser or conversation tips at your Toastmasters meeting. The more we retreat from these things, the more we'll need to turn to the apps again for advice. And lastly, one big problem that I can see is human is the new luxury. As AI takes more of the burden off of us, is incorporated into more and more aspects of our life, human interaction is going to be on the decline. Even now, how hard is it to get a human on the phone at a big company these days? This could easily form a socioeconomic line in the sand where only the rich get actual humans and the rest of us have to deal with the bots. So, what does the future hold for us in AI, and what's going to happen? Well, that could go a lot of different ways. So first up, let's talk about the bad that could happen.
I mean, the dark side is that people decide that the AI is more interesting as a partner than the people that it's connecting them with. And so instead of forming relationships with other humans, now they start forming relationships with the AI, even if they're there to guide them or coach them. Maybe those interactions become more appealing. I think the thing that I would worry the most about is people starting to replace human connection with AI relationships. And then also I could see a scenario where now you have no idea who you're interacting with, what they're actually like, because they're relying so heavily on AI.
A few years ago, there was a movie that came out with Joaquin Phoenix called Her, where the protagonist falls in love with an AI operating system played by Scarlett Johansson. And everybody thought it was way in the future and it was crazy and it couldn't really happen, but we're pretty much there right now. And here's the thing that people are discussing about. Is this bad? I mean, there's not much difference between that and Replica that's going on right now. Is it good? Does it hurt some people? Does it help some people? The way that I look at it is like a prosthetic leg. Does a prosthetic leg replace a real leg? Not by a long shot. It's way poor. It's false. It doesn't work right. However, is a prosthetic leg better than no leg at all? By a long shot. By a long shot. And so you have these operating systems. Yes, it's never going to replace a human relationship. But if you're someone that doesn't have any human relationships, it's just going to be much better than nothing. So I don't really know which way, if it's good, if it's bad. Like right now, there's an epidemic of loneliness going on, especially with young men. And we all turn to something comforting when we're not feeling great. I can't see why extremely isolated or lonely people wouldn't turn to this. AI overuse would be trying to fill a need. Why not go after the root cause of the need or the problem itself? Again, that's what I'm hoping that I can do in the tiniest of ways. This debate will continue on for a long time. Look at this conversation on Reddit that happened just the other day. People are going back and forth on whether it's real or not real. Does that matter? Does that not matter? This conversation will go on for a long time, but now let's explore the possible good futures that could happen.
I mean, the utopian future would look like people who don't spend a lot of time online because they're out meeting people in person because the matchmaking is now so good thanks to AI that they immediately are getting set up on first dates, and those first dates are going well because it's now able to predict who they're actually going to click with. Or people who maybe struggle to form relationships, to have conversations, are now getting coached with the help of, not just humans, but also AI that are giving them feedback and giving them insights. And so they're getting better. The matchmaking process is getting better. And the outcome of all of this is now you're spending less time in front of technology and more time out there interacting with people in the flesh.
There could be better AI powered matchmaking. The algorithms could analyze profiles, preferences, communicate much better than it's currently doing. AI dating concierges, once they get better, that they can assess potential matches and compatibility before real life. Personal AI advisors, like some of the ones that we've talked about, getting much, much, much better, offering dating coaches, like they could make another me. And then something I think is interesting too is a VR dating with AI, and then you can really get into like immersive stuff before you meet up and get to know each other. So, what else could possibly be happening?
Where will AI be in the future of our industry? I mean, I'm sure people are going to create complete AI bots. You can probably date someone that's not real. I think that already, like an AI boyfriend or girlfriend. I think Grinder created with Xhuman, which is an AI company. They created a wingman that you can go on dates with ahead of time, so you can learn the skill of dating. And I think in theory it sounds wonderful, but in practice it's probably the wrong application. So AI is actually a really great disruptor for the dating industry, like people who really want to go on dates. If you just want to swipe through more people, you don't really need AI to swipe through more people. You just need more people on the app. So I think for people that want high intent outcomes, dating apps have not really worked at scale. And I think that having AI propel the matchmaking industry, which has been very archaic, very manual, but high outcomes, I think could be a really great combination if we're providing the education and the skills to be good at dating, to be good at, if you're a bad picker, let's make you into a good picker. If you're bad on first dates, let's make you into experts on the first date. I think there's a lot of education that the AI can help us with, both from a casual standpoint and also on the matchmaking front.
One thing I would love to see is it breaking the language barriers. I would love to go on a date with somebody that spoke a different language and have us instantly be able to translate back and forth. That could truly open the world up for everybody and all sorts of daters. Another idea is get set up on better dates. Have my AI cross-reference what I know to what she knows and likes, to what's going in and around the city, reference to my bank account and my views on splitting the bill, with travel options on a holiday weekend, etc., etc. I think that could be really cool uses of AI.
The one thing I do think is a success case for AI going forward with relationships is because these models are more conversational, there's a real opportunity to ask an AI and have a conversation with AI about more emotionally touchy things and things that are slightly embarrassing, right? And I think a lot of that is probably more on the sexual side of interactions in relationships, where it's just a lot more comfortable to ask about this weird thing that happens during sex to an AI than it is to a person.
Okay, so final thoughts. What's going to happen?
I mean, if the dating apps don't handle this correctly, they could really end themselves with AI, or they could make the experience a lot better for people. So you can imagine a scenario, though, where this actually really, really harms human connection, or where it actually makes it easier to meet people and helps to bring us together. So which will it be? I mean, that's the million-dollar question.
So there it is. That's the quick and dirty about everything that's going on in the industry right now. And the news changes daily. So, what do I think about all this? What's my soapbox? I think the eager and creative will find yet another tool to help themselves stand out. I think for the sociopathic and narcissistic, they're going to find nefarious ways to use it. I think for the socially awkward, it can give a good starting point to help them off in real life. I do think there's a very vulnerable demographic that could be very harmed by this technology. Most of all, I worry about the atrophying of our social muscles. Not everything is just conversation or video. It's smell, it's taste, it's energy, it's touch, it's your environment, and so much more. These are called soft skills, and I wonder if they will be as valuable in the future. Who cares if you're confident if you never have a meeting in person? How do you learn to include others in conversation if the meeting just skips to speaker view on your screen? Even if you build a similarity of human emotions, I think we're into the uncanny valley. But I keep circling back to the question, well, so what? If only, statistically grossly simplified, 33 to 40% of men pass their genes on, and 45% of them say that they're lonely, what do we have to offer for them? I think that there's something systemic that needs to be addressed somehow. Human beings are built for and deserve community. This community helps us learn interpersonal skills. These skills allow us to be social. Being social leads to finding connections. Having connections brings comfort. And from comfort, we can at last arrive at intimacy. But we can't skip over those beginning stages as much as we want to. Dr. Jeffrey Hall's great study, How Many Hours Does It Take to Make a Friend, from 2018, to get from an acquaintance to a casual friend takes 43 to 60 hours. From a casual friend to friend takes 57 to 164 hours. And from a friend to a good friend takes between 119 hours and 219 hours. Now, in order to help foster that community, we should all be taking a small bit of that burden to get out into the real world in whatever way, into those communities. As we help each other develop and nurture our social circle, all those people, not only can they be possible dates, but allies in your search, while you can help them in their search. And then we can all truly help change the world one smile at a time. Thank you.